Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tara Palmeri Show. Thanks for waiting for me for a half hour. It's been a morning. I just got back from California. I had to go there for some work. We have a really big day, a really big announcement for the Tara Palmeri Show community and for all of you who I'm so thankful that I've gotten to know and who have joined me on this journey. We hit 100,000 subscribers last night. And that's a really big deal in the YouTube world. It's a really big deal for me personally because I made this decision to strike out on my own last year. And it has been, incredibly thrilling. And it's been, a high risk decision. I left my job, but I really believed that it was time for me to be a part of this independent journalism movement, to report on what I believe was the most important thing to report on, to no longer have to go to, the man or woman or whoever was my editor at the time and have to sell the story and have it to be sexy or this or that, but to truly sort of report on what I believed in and what I wanted to do. And I really enjoyed this medium of YouTube, speaking directly live to the audience. Thanks, Jank. Yes, Jank has literally been such a great role model in this space, and he has helped me so much. He's had me on his shows on the Young Turks, which you should all be watching. Great network. Even watch it on my television since he's on TV. He's on satellite too. But yeah, no, he's really helped me along. But it's been, such a great journey. I really launched the Tara Palmeri Show around April. And, here we are in October 1. And I knew we were getting close to the 100,000 mark, but I was on a flight from California last night and there was no Wi-Fi on the flight. And so instead of working like I normally do, I wrote a little piece, but I watched some TV and I watched some movies. They were really great. And I got to feel a lot of things. So I was, feeling really emotional from all these movies. And then we landed when I landed at like 9:30 last night, which is partially why I was so late this morning, so I was a little groggy. I got all these messages from my team, my awesome team, Eric, Abby, Adam, Dan, and they were like, "We did it. We hit 100,000," and they have been working so hard with me. This is not just me on my own. And I was walking to the baggage claim, and I just started to cry. And I know that sounds really corny, but I really cried. It just means a lot. I never actually thought I'd get here. Is that weird to say that? I didn't start this thinking, I didn't even know if it was going to work at all. And I was willing to take that risk, but I wanted to try. And so to hit that milestone means a lot to me. And again, I couldn't do it without you guys. I couldn't do it without people like Jank, who've had me on their show and have supported me. I couldn't do it without the followers, and I can't do it without the subscribers and all the questions and all of your curiosities and your desire for truth, because without your desire for truth, people like me don't exist. And so I'm really, 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 I'm really humbled to be here. And I'm so thankful that you guys keep tuning in. So enough about me, but thank you. You are part of that 100,000, and you are part of the reason why we are still here. And thank you for your questions, because you're going to keep me going, because I was supposed to have a guest today. And unfortunately, I cannot track him down. So I'm going to have to carry this show on my own. It is not very produced, but we're going to get through it together. And we're going to talk about a lot of different things. We can talk about Jeffrey Epstein. I see a lot of questions about what the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, said about Jeffrey Epstein and his blackmailing, which, if you've been following this channel, you know that Jeffrey Epstein had KGB style blackmailing. That is part of what he did. And he used the women to trap a lot of these men. And he didn't have to say anything about it. If you're going to his island or you're on his house and you're taking part in one of these massages, the depravity, this guy has got something on you. So when you leave and he wants to he wants, $1 million, 2 million, whatever it is, you're going to give it to him. And you are going to have to deal with that. And so, and you're going to have to deal with it knowing that this guy's got something on you. He was slick. He was passing, I believe, based on my reporting, that he was passing on information to various intelligence agencies, including U.S. intelligence agencies, Israeli, who knows? I think he was trading information, and all of them found his information so valuable, and that they couldn't help but say no. I mean, we know that back in the early 90s with the Towers Financial, the Ponzi scheme that he was a partner in, that his partner, Stephen Hoffenberg, went to prison for the rest of his life for this $300 million Ponzi scheme, the largest in history, okay? And Epstein didn't, because he spoke to prosecutors at least 3 times. And he also worked on a Bear Stearns investigation. He had everyone in his pocket, but he also knew law enforcement. And it's like Whitey Bulger, the law enforcement, they don't always have a gun to your head when they're talking to you. Sometimes they find your information to be more interesting than the crimes you're committing. And I think that was the relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And it really suggests that to me, especially when I interviewed Brad Edwards, who's a lawyer for one of the victims and was working on the Crime Victims' Rights Act case. And he spoke to Epstein's bodyguard, Igor Zinoviev, who told him that he would go to Langley to pick up documents for Epstein. And then bring them back to Epstein. And we know that Epstein met with the number 2 at the State Department, Bill Burns. It was in his schedule. And Bill Burns, I don't know if you know this, but State Department and CIA, very closely connected. Okay. A lot of people who are CIA are diplomats abroad. So lots of different, angles there. We can go into it. I actually think that he probably became connected to Robert Maxwell through Mossad and met Glenn that way. And it all started way, way back then. So I got to get the Epstein out of the air for everybody, right? Oh, and by the way, one more thing I just want to keep you posted on in terms of the Epstein story. Last time I did a podcast earlier this week with Ellie Honig, an amazing former prosecutor from the Southern District of New York. He's on CNN. He's got a Sirius XM radio show. We talked about Ghislaine Maxwell and what the chances are that the Supreme Court will take up her appeal. On Monday, they met in private to decide whether to take up her appeal. He explained how she could get off free based on the same reasons that Bill Cosby was able to get off free, because of that sweetheart deal that was made with Jeffrey Epstein, and that co-conspirators named and unnamed be protected forever. And they are arguing that she is named and unnamed and protected forever. We don't know the decision that the Supreme Court made. And I'm sorry if I made it seem like you would know that day. In fact, we will find out sometime this month what the decision the Supreme Court made. It could be tomorrow. It could be Halloween. I will keep you posted, though. So of course, stay tuned to the channel, and I will let you know the decision the Supreme Court makes on Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal, whether to take it up or not. And now, very few cases are taken up on appeal, 2 to 3%, right? But Ellie thinks she has a better chance than most, maybe as much as 30% chance to have her case taken up on appeal. If they throw this out, no retrial. She's out. That's it. Free bird. I know. So much to unpack here. James asks, why do you think the mainstream media has not covered the Epstein intelligence connection other than to basically deny it exists? Because they are following the government line right now. I reached out to the CIA and asked them, do you have a record of Igor Zinoviev entering your building on these dates in these years? And they would not. They acknowledged my request. We had back and forths. We talked on the phone. We emailed, but they could not tell me, even though Langley has a record of everyone who goes in and out of that building. So I don't know why they won't pursue that angle. I think it's because they think it's too kooky, or they're worried about losing their government contacts. The government obviously denies it. It makes the DOJ look very corrupt. They are making deals with, if they're making informant deals with criminals, but alas, people like us will keep digging and digging and digging. Okay. I do want to get to the really big news in America. And thanks to the guy from John in the UK, and we've got another person in South Africa. So maybe I won't hang on this one for too long. But in America, we are on our, I believe, second day or third day of a shutdown at this point. I think it's it's day 2 of a shutdown right now. And the fact that I'm questioning the days probably reflects the fact that as much as there's a lot of talk about this in America, the fact that we're in a shutdown, I don't know that people are really feeling it quite yet, the impacts. Soon they will. Soon, when they are not getting paid for a long period of time and they stop going to work, the parks become littered, people aren't able to, pay their bills. That is when we're going to really hear a large outcry about the shutdown. But right now, it's just political gamesmanship that includes memes. I mean, the memes are out of control right now. I don't know how people outside of America, I'm curious to hear in the comments section what people outside of America think about the fact that our political leaders are trading barbs over memes, memes that include a mariachi band and a mustache. Trump did that to the minority leader, Democratic minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, like dressed him up in a meme. I thought it was ridiculous. But apparently this is the type of communication that we have right now. And then the Democrats responded with their own meme. This is America. I think people who are being affected might feel like this is a bit of a slap in the face. It feels like children playing in a schoolyard and they're having their fun and they're beating each other up. But what about the rest of us, right? And apparently Gavin Newsom responded with an AI video too of JD Vance mocking like this couch sex meme that has been going on for a while. It's really, 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 and it's just crazy. I don't know why we are doing this, but that is how our government, I guess that's how our political system, that's where we are right now. It's very childish. And we've gotten to this place where there's like no civil discourse. I mean, just a few weeks ago, Charlie Kirk dies. There's allegedly calls from some to unite and to lower the discourse. And yet we have our political leaders acting like actual fools, while people's paychecks are on the line, while we're not sure if there will be healthcare subsidies for people who are on Obamacare at the end of the year. A lot of people will feel a lot of pain if these people who are spending half their time coming up with funny memes. I wonder who's getting paid to do that, by the way, with obviously taxpayer dollars, what they're doing. Now, I can go through what is happening right now. So Democrats obviously refuse to pass this government funding bill that the Republicans want them to pass, right? Three have caved. Senators. John Fetterman, he's actually been a guest on my show before. He's from Pennsylvania. He gets that a lot of Trump's policies are very popular in Pennsylvania. His counterpart is a Republican, the other senator from Pennsylvania. So I think, he sees the necessity of doing this. He sees that his constituents, they are still very much pro-Trump. Trump won Pennsylvania. Let's not forget that in 2024. And then you've got, I think Masto, I believe she's from Nevada. She voted for it. And then Angus King, an independent from Maine, he also voted for the bill. So we've got three Democrats that voted with Republicans. That's a pretty large number. And they probably only need to peel back a few more, I think 2 more, to have a group of 5. And the Republicans can pass this bill in the Senate. That's not that far away. I actually don't think this will be the longest shutdown that we've seen, because I remember when I was a White House correspondent, the first term, that was a really long shutdown. And President Trump actually just kept it going forever. And everyone was sort of wondering, like, when is this going to end? This is such a long shutdown. It was in the middle of the winter. It felt brutal. It felt like he didn't feel the impact of the shutdown at all, at least not on regular people. And he kept it going. And a lot of people said, how is this going to impact the elections, right? Because in Washington, everyone is so cynical. They were just thinking, how is this going to impact the midterms? How is this going to impact Republicans? And I don't know that it really did. And it doesn't always translate into votes. And so I think for President Trump, he doesn't see the harm in it. But back then, when he was just, a guy in New York who used to call into Fox, he believed that it was the president who bared the brunt of these shutdowns. And my producer, Eric, found a great montage of this. So we're going to play the clips. Eric, run the clips, please.
First question, Donald, we're having a hell of a time trying to negotiate here in Washington. So tell me, if you were president, what would you do?
Well, very simply, you have to get everybody in a room. You have to be a leader. The president has to lead. I hear the Democrats are going to be blamed and the Republicans are going to be blamed. I actually think the president would be blamed. If there is a shutdown, I think it would be a tremendously negative mark on the president of the United States. He's the one that has to get people together.
They're not going to be talking who the head of the House was, the head of the Senate, who's running things in Washington. So I really think the pressure is on the president.
Okay, so everyone heard that. So as you can see, President Trump at one time felt that it was the president himself who is to blame for the shutdown, not shut down Schumer or Schumer shut down, as he's done right now, blaming the minority leaders for this. So he felt that they were the ones to blame. Now, yeah, Epstein files cover up, Doug says. Yes, while this all happens, obviously the House Oversight Committee is not investigating the Epstein story anymore or the files. So it is an interesting diversion. And when they get back, I wonder if they'll continue or if this will just be fall to the wayside. But yes, in the meantime, President Trump is using this opportunity, this shutdown opportunity, to Doge 2.0, you could say, to cut through government and slash more jobs. And, the jobs that they're targeting are jobs that are in the bureaucracy, jobs in federal government that, a lot of people are resentful of people who have government positions. And they're fine with going through there because they assume that most of these workers live in DC and they are, they're either Democrats or they live in Virginia or Maryland, and they are not their MAGA core base. So they don't see this as having any impact on their political base. So they are the ones who are slashing. These are the ones who are probably being most impacted. But there are some political ramifications because we've got two gubernatorial races actually right now. One of them is in Virginia. And Abigail Spanberger is a Democratic candidate. She's a very strong blue dog candidate. She's got a military background. And if there are a lot of job losses in Virginia, you could see a switch. Oh, by the way, she's the one who took out Eric Cantor. And he was in leadership in Republican leadership at the time. And, he was seen as someone who would be the next Speaker of the House. And she took him out. That was a really big deal. And that was in reaction to President Trump. She came in with that wave of blue dog Democrats in the midterms after Trump was elected. And now she's running for governor and seen as a very strong candidate. And then you've got New Jersey, Mikey Sherrill, who is actually from the district where I was raised. And she is running for governor, and she's another blue dog Democrat, military background, really impressive person. And she is running ahead of the Republican by 5 points. And I know it sounds crazy, a Republican governor in New Jersey, but we have had it. Chris Christie, there's a certain type of Republican that people in New Jersey really like. And, this might work in her favor, this shutdown, because they are talking about Trump he's already done it actually. He slashed funding for this New Jersey gateway that they were building, $16 billion gateway to connect the two. And you can only imagine, people hate traffic. Like, I don't know if you remember Bridgegate, but this was when Chris Christie caused traffic in New Jersey, and traffic from New Jersey to New York, and it basically ruined his presidential campaign, his presidential ambitions. It was a huge scandal. So don't mess with traffic, basically. And if you are suggesting that you are messing with infrastructure in a state, that is not going to go over well. And, Eric, my producer, just pointed out for me that Trump had his largest rally in New Jersey. Why am I not surprised? I grew up with a lot of Republicans actually in New Jersey. So yeah. And he also just points out a few more notes that I'll give to you guys while I'm here. Republicans need 60 votes to bypass the filibuster. They start with 53. So they do need Democrats, but we know they have 3. So basically they only need 2 more. And when the government shutdowns, government workers fall into 3 categories. They're the furloughed, they're temporary termination. They're non-essential federal employees. They're on unpaid leave during a government shutdown. Expected essential workers who work without pay, but hopefully receive back pay later if Congress passes retroactive pay. It's been the norm in decades to be paid retroactively. Exempt, not necessarily essential, but funded by sources other than the annual congressional appropriations. So their funding is not affected by the lapse in appropriations. I would expect these are people like the Federal Aviation Administration, making sure that the planes are flying and the type of people that we need day to day to survive. So yeah, this is all. Oh yes, the post office is exempt as well. So this is all what's going on in DC. I get the sense that our political leaders do not feel any pressure to open the government again. I think that they'll keep playing this out. I think President Trump likes the opportunity to go through and slash more government jobs that he wasn't able to do with DOGE. And Russ Vought, who is the head of the budget, he's the chief budget officer. He is just going through and slashing on account of the shutdown. And it's basically a loyalty test. I mean, these are civil servants, but if they're perceived as disloyal or they, don't seem to have a leaning that is Republican, I mean, they could lose their jobs. I mean, the DC economy has taken a huge hit from all of this. I know not a lot of people really care about the economy in the Capitol, but I have a lot of friends. I know a lot of people who have been displaced. They don't have jobs. It took a long time for them to find new jobs. Children do go hungry during this period of time. As you saw, some people just don't get paid. And they could be, the sole breadwinner of the household. And yeah, what are they going to do? All right. I'm going to look through the comments, by the way. I'm sorry I haven't been looking through the comments enough. I just wanted to give you a little bit more. So let's take a look through the comments and see if I can answer some of the questions for you guys. Clementine says, I like Mikey, but Jack will be better. This is the New Jersey gubernatorial race, but I'd have to see Mikey miss his chance, but whatever. By the way, the reason I brought up New Jersey and Virginia is because their races are in 2025, unlike the midterm elections, which is in 2026. And I think, a lot of these parties, they come off the momentum of these off-year races to try to determine what the voters care about. They really analyze them. They're seen as bellwethers of what's to come. So everybody is sort of obsessing over New Jersey and Virginia. Could be nothing at all. I mean, but in the meantime, if there's any election that will have an impact on the shutdown, it's these 2. And by the way, they just so happen to be, Virginia will be impacted by the shutdown, by the cuts, by the firings, and New Jersey is a blue state. So Trump does not really care that much about it. All right. JB says, Epstein is relevant. It's all of our responsibility. It totally is. I hope it doesn't fall off the national interest. I think people need to continue working on it. I think we all need to continue, putting pressure on Congress. I'm wondering why they haven't passed a bill yet. But, this is right now, they actually have to open the government again. All right. I'm going to keep going through. I have a question. What do you guys think about the fact that all of these Democrats have come back at Trump and they say fight fire with fire? I mean, do you agree? Do we just keep amping up the rhetoric, and do we just keep this, keep this fire going and the meme wars and just keep the political discourse this way? I mean, if this is the way the president is communicating, do you think that this is the way that we have to, move forward? And that's the only way that Democrats can break through in the attention wars? Yeah. Do you think the president is the person to blame for a shutdown? Tracy says, agree. Democrats have to be aggressive in their measures. You know what? I've been hearing this from a lot of people. They think that their responses are too limp. And in fact, it's really backfiring on Hakeem Jeffries. There's also not a lot of trust with Chuck Schumer. They think he's going to do a backdoor deal. So fight, fight, fight. That's what I'm seeing. Okay. Democratic base. Is there anyone you really like? Like, do you think Gavin Newsom is the right guy to fight? Is that who people like right now? Is that the person at the base likes? I never thought I would be talking about Gavin Newsom. I never put as being that person, but I just got back from California, and I was talking to some people in California politics. I didn't realize that Alex Padilla, the senator from California, who really we very rarely even talk about, right? His profile was raised so substantially by this interaction he had with ICE at the Department of Homeland Security, and how it just was like that throwdown on the floor there really elevated him from just like one of many candidates for governor of California to one of the leading candidates. And I've just noticed that like all of these, candidates are having their smackdown moment, whether it's at a gerrymandering meeting, like my last guest, Isaiah Martin, who's in Texas, deep blue, 19th district. He had his smackdown. There's another candidate. Her name is Kate. I'm going to butcher her last name, Kat, and she had her moment. And it feels Brad Lander in New York. It's like you have to have this like physical fight with Trump to show your grit and how hard you would fight for the party. And I do think this is like the moment of the smackdown. It's almost like, Trump loves wrestling and all these Democrats have gotten into the ring with him. I'm not hardwired to be into that kind of stuff, but I don't like it either. Maddie says, do you really think that is how your politics should run? I don't think so. I don't like it either. Jang says, I hate to say it, but the right has perfected memes. The left needs to step up their game if they're going to enter that arena. I agree with you, Jang, but why do we have to go like as a people, not necessarily left or right, but like, why do we have to go into that arena? Why do we have to go into that like wrestling arena? I don't, it's just like he set the stage. Like that's where he wants to fight. And as everyone knows in pro wrestling, like it's all kind of performative. It's not even real. And I guess if you're controlling the nation's attention, then you get to choose the arena for the fight. But it just seems that it's so base. That's my take. But someone said Jon Stewart would win the primary. Do we think Jon Stewart would even run? Is that why he has a podcast? I wish actor Matthew McConaughey would run for Texas governor. I think Matthew McConaughey would like to skip over that and run for president. I don't know if you guys would agree. Trump loves chaos. Yep. Tracy says to penetrate the MAGA base, that's what you have to do. Yes, Jank's here. It's very exciting. All right. It's the theater that Trump thrives on. No, I agree. It's the theater that Trump thrives on, but it's his play. This is his show. And so Democrats have now decided to be players in his show. And I just don't know if they can create, if that's the only way. Yeah, Jank's in the house. WWF is fake. MMA is not. Karate is not. Just FYI, says Sam EMC. I'm not a pro in this either. I would not be a great fighter. That's why I'm a journalist. So, all right, guys. I unfortunately need to keep this one short to half hour. I have my dad in town. He says he is at the door. I'm going to take him to the airport. And yeah, it's been really great. Again, just want to really thank you all for everything, for getting me to this place, for getting this community to this place. Please, of course, share it with your friends, and keep sending me your tips in your reporting, and what you guys have been. This has been so crucial in our Red Letter community, in the Tara Palmeri Show community. You've all kind of come together. I love seeing it, that you're reading my reports and you're watching them. I really believe this is based on investigative journalism at its core. Love keeping you up to date with reports and commentary, but I do believe that is how we can bring truth and light in a lot of darkness, in spaces where people don't want us to go. And thanks to you guys for supporting me on this journey, supporting my team, and for keeping us going. And we are just getting started. So thank you guys. Have a great day.